the screen for, yep, we are now live, Lois.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hopefully it does better than we did the last time.
Mhm.
Okay, so
We are now live, Lois. And can you check if there's any windows that is open for your YouTube?
there are, I think I have the YouTube open. So do I close that, David?
Yes, please. There we go, Lois.
Hi, everybody. So sorry for the little bit difficulty there. I'm learning how to make this all happen. I wanted to talk a little bit today about the 5 most important questions you need to ask yourself. You know, have you gone to meetings where you think you're really prepared and then you start getting those uncomfortable feelings of, am I really ready? Will I really be able to connect to talk with? And I think many times that we have those feelings because in our heads, we really haven't thought through the 5 most important questions that we can ask. And so wouldn't it be nice to feel really confident and to be able to go to those meetings knowing that somewhere in that process that you will be creating, you will address the important needs of your client. These questions are questions I have developed and reorganized based on learnings that I've had, particularly from Peter Drucker. He's a brilliant leadership training person, has shaped a lot of what we've done and how we've thought about things in the business world and how we consult and work with companies. And so I think his wisdom is really important for us to take a look at. Other people that I have drawn from for this are Marshall Goldsmith. He's one of my mentors, and I have a deep respect for his perspective on things. And so I just want to share with you these 5 things because I think you'll find it'll make your life so much easier. And part of the reason why it's important is there's a business construct that people bring to decision making. Are they going to buy what it is that you have to offer? And if we're going to get people to purchase our idea, we need to know what the 5 questions are and how to frame them within that context. So are you ready? Let's get started. First and most important is, what's the mission and purpose of my client? Everybody has something that motivates them. We need to take a look at what it is that motivates. And when we take a look at what motivates people, we are addressing part of what's really important to them. We create businesses with mission statements, purposes. Know what that is. What does it really mean? Well, you may say they don't ever do anything with it. It's just something on paper, perhaps. But in some companies, it really is something that motivates them. And it is also what takes people out of simply thinking about, am I selling something in a transactional way to selling it in a relationship way? What is it that makes your client get excited and passionate? You know, when we deal with and are addressing people's passions, it's so much easier, isn't it? Know what it is. How do you know what it is? Ask. Ask people questions before you go. One of the things that Tony Robbins talks about, which I think is just brilliant, is before he does a workshop in a particular environment, he'll have staff who will go in and interview people, 20, 30 people. What are the most important issues for you? What are you being challenged by today? And the reason why he does that, he wants to know what it is that people are thinking about. Because even at that level, if you're not connecting, you're not going to be successful. So again, what's important to your client? Those questions, asking what makes them passionate? What is really important to your client? That will help you to address mission and purpose. Also, what are their beliefs? What are their strongly held beliefs? Everybody has them. Sometimes they're unwritten, sometimes they're very clearly expressed. Know what they are, because the beliefs will shape what people want, and it also shapes what the people are that they use for their influence to help them make decisions. Second question is, really, who is your client? Do you know really who is your client? At the deepest level, what are their needs? What is it that they need to have addressed? Now, I think one of the things that's really important for us to take a look at is what are their wants and what are their desires. We tend to sell and talk about what we perceive as the need. What they buy is what they want, what hits their deepest desires. So we really need to take a look at what do they want? We need to service what they want, what their deepest desires are, but meet the need. And we need to keep in mind the distinction. But remember, they will buy based on their wants and their desires, and the needs are what really needs to be addressed in order to achieve a result. Marshall Goldsmith says, one of the things that we get confused by is we present a really wonderful idea. We're excited. We can't wait to share it and have somebody buy it, right? And we walk away and we wonder why it was like a deer in headlights meeting. They didn't respond. They weren't excited at all. And he says, you need to keep in mind, it is not the other person's job to buy. It's our job to sell. And we won't sell unless we know what the needs and wants are and frame the needs in relation to what the desires and wants are, because that's what they're going to buy. What are their interests? You know, it's much easier to have a meeting if you have something to talk about. And connecting on the level of what their interests are is so important. Who influences your client? All of us are influenced by somebody. Who is that? If you know who it is, you will know what's shaping their thought process, their decision making. What is it that they're emulating? And then what are the challenges that your client faces? We all face challenges. What pushes us and motivates us to buy is our pain, our need to get rid of pain. And so to know what's challenging your client or the person you're working with, that's really important. And then why would the person that you're trying to sell your idea to want you to help them solve that problem? What's unique about you? What do you have to offer them that nobody else has to offer? Because if you're not clear about why they need you, then they're not going to be clear about it either. And so that's a really important issue. And then what does your client value? What do they take pride in? Every organization has things that they take pride in. There's stories about that. Just ask. People are so excited to share their stories of what they're proud of. We just need to ask. And if you can use those stories to shape what you're addressing in terms of wants and needs and what it is that you have to offer, isn't it so much easier to purchase? Because now I'm just adding to my basket of what I'm proud of. Who are their role models? Ask, who are you looking to shape your perspective for the future? Leaders in top leadership roles are always looking for mentors to take them to the next level. And they're paying big, big money often to do that. Marshall Goldsmith talks about coaching top CEOs, and they'll pay $400,000 for his coaching. Tony Robbins will do the same. For him, his mastermind groups are not inexpensive. So people at the top level, you may say, well, they already know what they're doing. They're comfortable. No, they have role models. They have mentors that are helping them move to the next level. Who are they? Because the thought process of those role models and what they teach is what's shaping the person with whom you're working. You must know that. So again, who are the people who are influencing the people that you want to work with? What is their thought process? What is the background that they come, and what's the perspective and strategies that they're going to bring? The next question is, what results does your client want? We all have results. If you're trying to sell an idea or a concept, you're selling it because they want a result. They want to have their challenges eliminated. They want to have their wants met. So what results are you going to be able to give to them? Be very specific, be very clear about that. Where many of us fall down when we present an idea, when we're so excited, we want to get something done, is it's not clear enough in our head as to what the outcome is. So we don't sell it in terms of, can it really be done? And sometimes I think this is the better place to start, is to think through what result is it that you can really bring, and then look at the other questions backwards. Because if we don't do that, if we don't really hone in on the results, we're not going to get there. Be very specific, identify a timeline. People want to know, how long is this going to take? I was speaking with a very large company, and they had invested millions, tens of millions of dollars dealing with culture. And after 5 years, that culture framework was brought only to 30% of the company. And you go, wow, okay. There was a result that the company wanted. They invested an incredible amount of money, but in 5 years, that strategy was not fully implemented. So people really are looking for, what are the results? What's the time frame? And what's your history in being able to deliver on that? What measures will you use? If you're going to have a result, you need to know how to measure it. And I think many times when we talk about, well, I'm going to move my team, we're going to be able to do X, Y, Z. Well, how are you going to measure that? How do you really know your team is going to do that? Sometimes when it's behavior kinds of things, we think it's difficult. It isn't so difficult. One of the things that Marshall Goldsmith taught me was just put things on a scale from 0-3 to a +3. And did you move the needle? How much did you move the needle on that scale? You've got to have something with which you're going to measure. If we're looking at productivity, there are productivity measures. We can talk in terms of percentages. We can talk in terms of revenue. What were we responsible for? And how did the team approach that? Also, I think it's really important to talk about progress towards a result. Results don't happen instantaneously. We need to measure consistently, regularly, and then talk about progress as we're moving in that direction. And then ask people, how are you perceiving? Are we improving? Do you feel like we're improving? What do we need to change? How do we need to shift? What could we do more of? People are really eager. Once they start to see results, they're eager to be a part of moving further and creating more and sharing what the progress is. And then take a look at, what is it that needs to be strengthened? What do you need to change? Have you created an attitude that's optimistic and hopeful? Or are people really pessimistic and cynical? Because how we approach things shifts depending upon what the perspective and mindset of the people are that we're working with, don't we? We really need to be sensitive to that. And then the fifth question is, what plan am I going to use to achieve the results that you want? And again, look at this. I like to look at it from a corporate level. If I'm involved in a larger engagement, I'll look at a 5-year plan and then start looking at it in terms of 1 year. But in smaller scale projects, annual is certainly terrific. Really focus in on the 3 to 6 month results that you're going to look at and the plan that you're going to put in place for 3 to 6 months. You know the results you want to make, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. What kind of plan needs to be put in place in the short term, in 3 to 6 months, that's going to move the needle towards the results that you want? You want to develop goals and action steps for that 3 month plan. They need to be specific and be very specific so that they can be measurable. You need to choose measures that everybody can agree on, use them consistently. People will do what you're measuring. And then identify who's responsible, who's going to be accountable for the result that you're trying to achieve. Who are you going to work with that you have that is identified, that everybody knows is the person that's responsible? Evaluate what's working and what's not working. And then identify 3 critical numbers to examine every day. Now, this was a concept that I learned from Alex Sharfin, and it's brilliant, I think. And one of the things that he talks about is just what we've talked about very briefly here. People do what you measure. So he says one of the things that he finds most important is to have a huddle every single day. His huddle for his organization is at 7:29 a.m. every day. And most of his people are virtual. So they all tune in at 7:29 a.m. He says, why 7:29? He says the huddle takes no more than 5 minutes. If you say 7:30, people straggle in and they come late. He says this is the most critical meeting of his company every day. People cannot come late. So he's made 7:29 as his time. So people are clear. Time is important. Come on time. And this is what he reviews. He has somebody go through and say, what are our 3 critical numbers that we're measuring? One is revenue. What kind of revenue did we do yesterday? For him, he has a training program that changes lives. How many lives did we change yesterday? In other words, how many people were part of our program, registered, signed up, became a part of our online community or our training program? So how many lives did we change? And then the third can be something else like that you may find important for him. It's how many new leads and contacts did I establish yesterday? So be very clear. What are the 3 numbers? Everybody knows what the 3 numbers are. You just simply report on what were our numbers. Are they up? Are they down? Everybody's clear that you're looking at that. And if they're down, take a look at why. And that's your next set of meetings and calls. Who's going to do something about it, address it, so tomorrow's call has better numbers. So those are the 5 questions that Peter Drucker says are really important. And I have learned if I keep this business framework always in front of me, I have a structure that allows me to absolutely address the needs of my client. I don't have to have those deer in the headlight meetings anymore. I have a framework that I'm taking my head through, that I'm walking my client through, and I know what I'm going to present absolutely addresses what they need. I know I'm reaching them where their passion is. I know their perspective because I know who their influencers are, who their role models are, what they're trying to achieve. I know what kind of plan I can put in place for them and how I'm going to measure it. So they absolutely will have a result. I can't wait for you to use this model. For those of you who are listening now to the end of this, I have a bonus offer for you where I've really put out some of these strategies for you. I want you to use these and really think them through because they're important. They'll make all the difference in the world in terms of your ability to influence and to lead. and I'd like to hear about how they're working for you, what you're learning. So come email me, let me know how you're doing. And I would love to know what else you'd like to know about. What else are you struggling with that you would like me to talk about and to share with you? So thanks so much for listening. Have a wonderful day.